For years, Marina
Hi,
had forgotten what it
how
was
are
like
you?
to be truly
And
seen.
today,
Her
I want
blue
to tell you
eyes
my
hid
story.
behind dark strands,
As a
while her
cleaner,
delicate hands scrubbed the cold marble of the Miami Beach resort, each movement whispering the silent pain of someone who cleans others' dreams while burying their own. The expensive perfume of guests mixed with the smell of cleaning products on her skin, creating a cruel contrast between two worlds that never touched. On that golden morning, when her phone vibrated in her pocket, and she hid behind a column to answer in fluent English, she didn't know someone was watching her from across the lobby, a man with equally blue eyes who had built an empire but lost the ability to see beauty in small things. Marina's heart beat irregularly when, after hanging up, she found Raphael Anderson standing there, not with the look of contempt she knew so well, but with something she couldn't decipher, a dangerous curiosity that would shatter all her certainties about the place she occupied in the world. Because sometimes, when two loneliness recognize each other, the silence between them screams louder than any word ever spoken. The cold marble of the Miami Beach resort reflected the golden lights of the imperial chandelier. But for Marina Santos, 20 years old, that brightness was just another surface to polish. Her soft blue eyes contrasted with her tanned skin, heritage from a mother from Florida and a father from California whom she barely knew. Each movement of her cloth was precise, almost invisible, exactly how she had felt for 3 years working there. Her phone vibrated in the pocket of her navy blue uniform. Marina looked quickly around. Manager Patricia always scolded her for answering calls during work hours. But the number was from Boston, from Harvard University, where she was trying for the 4th time for a scholarship to pursue a master's degree in translation. Hiding behind one of the marble columns that supported the main hall, she answered, whispering, "Hello? Good afternoon. Could I speak with Marina Santos?" said a male voice. "This is she. Miss Santos, I'm Professor John Mendez from the Department of Languages. We received your application and would like to schedule an online interview. Your articles on comparative linguistics caught our attention." Marina's heart raced. After so many rejections, finally a real opportunity. "Of course, Professor. When would be convenient?" While she conversed in formal English, adjusting schedules and technical details, she didn't notice someone was watching her. From across the lobby, Raphael Anderson, owner of one of the largest hotel chains in Florida, stopped in the middle of a conversation with his directors. Raphael, at 33, had built an empire transforming failing hotels into luxury resorts. His cold blue eyes were famous for seeing opportunities where others saw only loss. Widowed for 2 years, he rarely paid attention to operational staff. But something in the erect posture of that young cleaning lady, in the fluency of her English, in the dignity with which she expressed herself even while hiding, awakened his curiosity. "Who is that employee?" he asked discreetly to Patricia, who approached with a stern expression. "Marina Santos, Mr. Anderson, one of the housekeepers, and I'm about to reprimand her for using her phone during work hours." "Let her finish," said Raphael, surprising the manager. Marina hung up with a shy smile on her face. For the first time in months, she felt a spark of hope. But when she turned around, she found Patricia standing there with crossed arms. "Marina, you know it's forbidden to answer the phone during work hours." "It was just a minute, Ms. Patricia. It was about my studies." "Studies?" The manager laughed with disdain. "You should focus on the job you have. Starting tomorrow, you'll be transferred to cleaning the convention center bathrooms. You need to learn about priorities." Marina's face paled. The convention center bathrooms were the heaviest and most humiliating work at the resort. It was where they put employees they wanted to fire without creating labor problems. Raphael observed the entire scene in silence, his jaw tensing, but he didn't interfere. Not yet. That night, in her small apartment in Coral Gables, Marina prepared a ham sandwich, her dinner, while reviewing materials for the interview with Harvard. On the plastic kitchen table, her linguistics books shared space with overdue bills. She looked at the photo of her mother, Grace, who had died of cancer 2 years before. Also a housekeeper, she always said, "My daughter, study. Knowledge is the only thing no one can take from you." "Mom, I don't know if I can make it," she whispered to the photo. "Maybe I'm dreaming too high." But deep in her blue eyes, the flame of determination still burned. She didn't know that across town, a man with equally blue eyes was reviewing her resume, which he had discreetly requested from HR. Have you ever felt invisible in the place where you should shine? Tell us in the comments which city you're watching from and leave your like if this story is touching your heart. The next morning, Marina arrived early at the resort, prepared to face her new reality. The convention center was in the basement, away from guests and natural light. The smell of chemicals was stronger there, and the constant noise of ventilation equipment created a claustrophobic atmosphere. While organizing her cleaning supplies, Camilla from Human Resources appeared with a confused expression. "Marina, Mr. Raphael wants to speak with you." Now, Marina's heart raced. Had she made some mistake? Had they discovered her interview yesterday? Did he say why? No, he just said for you to come up to his office immediately. Raphael's office was on the top floor, with a panoramic view of Miami. Marina had never been there. The walls were covered in dark wood, and shelves full of business and economics books shared space with entrepreneurship trophies. Raphael was standing in front of the window, observing the movement of Biscayne Bay. When she entered, he turned, and for the first time, Marina could observe him up close. Tall, broad shoulders, brown hair with some grey streaks at the temples, signs of early responsibility. But it was his blue eyes that surprised her. They weren't cold as she had imagined, but deep, as if they held many untold stories. "Please, sit." "Oh, down," he said, pointing to a leather armchair. Marina sat on the edge of the chair, hands clasped in her lap. "I requested your resume from HR yesterday," Raphael began, taking a folder from the desk. "Graduated with honors in English literature from University of Miami. Specialization in translation. Fluent in English, Spanish, French, Italian, and Portuguese. And for 3 years cleaning the corridors of my resort." He paused, his eyes meeting hers. "Why?" The direct question caught her off guard. Marina took a deep breath. "I need to work, Mr. Anderson. My mother got sick. I had to abandon my master's to take care of her and pay for treatments. When she died, I was already in debt and without academic prospects. This job gave me stability, even if it's not my field. And yesterday on the phone you were talking about what? A
Hi,
master's
how are
opportunity at
you?
Harvard.
And
Comparative
today I want to
linguistics."
tell you my
Raphael
story.
nodded slowly,
As a
walking
cleaner,
back to the window. "Next week, I'll receive a delegation of international businessmen. They want to invest in resorts in Florida. My translation team is overloaded, and I need someone who understands not just languages, but cultural subtleties." He turned to her again. "I want you to coordinate translations and be my assistant during the meetings. Payment will be $10,000 for the week, plus bonuses if we close the contracts." Marina felt as if the floor had disappeared beneath her feet. "Mr. Anderson, I don't know if... Are you afraid?" The question echoed in the office silence. Marina lifted her chin, her blue eyes meeting his with a determination she didn't know she possessed. "No, sir. I'm afraid of failing, but I'm also afraid of not trying and regretting it forever." An almost imperceptible smile crossed Raphael's lips. "Great. Start tomorrow. Camila will arrange appropriate clothing and a temporary office. Oh, and Marina." "Yes, sir?" "Call me Raphael when we're working together. We're a team now." When Marina left the office, her legs felt weak. In the corridor, she crossed paths with Patricia, who looked at her with a mixture of surprise and suspicion. "What were you doing in Mr. Anderson's office?" "Receiving a temporary promotion," Marina replied, with more confidence than she felt. Patricia paled. For years, she had looked down on Marina, treating her as just another disposable employee. Now, she would see that young woman working directly with the company owner. That night, in her apartment, Marina called her best friend, Julia. Jules, you won't believe what happened today. While telling about Raphael's proposal, she couldn't get his blue eyes out of her mind. There was something there, not just professional interest, but a connection she couldn't explain, as if he had really seen her, not just looked. On the other side of town, Raphael was in his apartment in South Beach, which he had personally restored. Alone with a glass of wine, he looked at a photo on his desk, him and Claire, his late wife, on their wedding day. 2 years ago, he thought he would never feel genuine interest in someone again. But today, in Marina's eyes, he had seen something that disturbed him. Strength, intelligence, dignity, and a vulnerability that awakened in him a protective instinct he thought was dead. He picked up his phone and typed a message to Camilla. Provide everything Marina needs. Clothes, office supplies, full system access. And Camilla, treat her with the respect she deserves. Marina's transformation was noticed throughout the resort. In just 2 days, she had exchanged her housekeeper uniform for elegant suits. Her curly hair, now loose, framed her face, and she walked through the corridors with confident posture that had always been there, just hidden. The temporary office Raphael had arranged was on the same floor as his, with a partial view of the bay. Marina arrived early and left late, reviewing contracts, preparing bilingual presentations, and studying the profile of each businessman in the delegation. On the morning of the first meeting, she chose a navy blue suit that highlighted her eyes. When she entered the conference room, Raphael stopped mid-sentence. For a moment, their eyes met across the table, and something electric passed between them. Gentlemen, I present Marina Santos, our international relations coordinator, said Raphael, regaining his composure. The first businessman, John Cardoso from Boston, began speaking in English, loaded with technical expressions from the hotel sector. Marina translated simultaneously, but then added, Mr. Cardoso, from what I understood of your proposal, you're interested not just in investing, but in bringing the sustainable tourism model you developed in New England. Is that correct? John smiled, impressed. Exactly, ma'am. I see you understand not just our language, but our business philosophy. The meeting flowed perfectly. Marina not only translated, but offered cultural insights and suggestions that impressed the entire delegation. Raphael watched everything in silence, admired by the naturalness with which she conducted complex discussions. During lunch, while the businessmen visited the facilities, Raphael and Marina were alone in the conference room, organizing documents. You were brilliant, he said, approaching the table where she worked. Thank you. It was liberating. It's been a while since I felt truly useful. Useful? Raphael frowned. Marina, you were always valuable. The problem is that no one took the trouble to see it. She looked up at him, and again that silent connection was established. Raphael realized he was closer than he should be, could smell her gentle perfume, see the small freckles on her nose. Raphael, she began, but was interrupted by Patricia's arrival. Mr. Anderson, I need to speak with you. It's urgent. The manager's expression was tense, almost desperate. Raphael moved away from Marina, realizing he had gotten too close. What is it, Patricia? It's about the supply contracts. We found some irregularities. Raphael frowned. Patricia looked quickly at Marina, as if she didn't want to speak in front of her. Marina, could you give us a moment? Raphael asked. When they were alone, Patricia began, Sir, I think Miss Marina is having access to too much confidential information. She's not trustworthy. Why do you say that? She's just an ex-housekeeper, sir. How can you be sure she's not passing information to competitors? Raphael felt his blood boil. The insinuation was absurd and prejudiced. Patricia, what exactly are your suspicions based on? Well, she was always very reserved, and now suddenly she's doing her job exemplarily. Raphael cut off. Patricia, I need you to review your attitude toward Marina, and I want a detailed report on those contract irregularities. When Patricia left, visibly upset, Raphael returned to the conference room. Marina was at the window, observing the marina's movement. "Everything okay?" he asked. "I know she was talking about me," Marina said without turning. "It's always like this. When a person like me gets an opportunity, they always think it was luck, favoritism, or something worse." Raphael approached, stopping beside her at the window. "And what does a person like you do in these situations?" Marina finally faced him. Her blue eyes shone with a mixture of determination and hurt. "Works twice as hard to prove she deserves to be there, and accepts that maybe it will never be enough for some people. For me, it's enough," said Raphael, his voice lower than intended. The moment was interrupted by the return of the international delegation, but both carried the intensity of those words for the rest of the day. That night, while organizing documents in her apartment, Marina received a call from Julia. "Marie, I need to tell you something. Do you remember Leticia, who works in the resort's finance department?"
Hi.
"I remember
How are
why.
you?
She told
And
me there's an
today, I
internal
want to tell you my
investigation going
story.
on. It seems
As a
someone has been
cleaner-
embezzling money from supply contracts. And guess who's at the center of suspicions?" Marina's heart froze. "Who?" "Patricia and Director Edward Miller. They say they were inflating supplier prices and pocketing the difference." Marina hung up with her mind in turmoil. If this were true, it would explain a lot, including why Patricia was so desperate to discredit her in front of Raphael. Truth always comes to light, doesn't it? What would you do in Marina's place? Comment there which city you're following this story from. The next morning, Marina arrived at the resort, determined to clarify the situation. But before going to her office, she decided to look for Camilla in HR. If there was an internal investigation, she needed to know where she was stepping. Camilla, a 45-year-old black woman who had always been kind to Marina, received her with a worried expression. "Mari, good that you came. I need to talk to you." "Is it about the investigation?" "You know." Camilla seemed surprised. "Julia told me something. Patricia and Edward are being investigated for embezzlement." Camilla closed the office door and lowered her voice. "It's more serious than that. We discovered a scheme that's lasted years. Overpriced contracts, phantom suppliers, employees fired without just cause to cover irregularities. The loss could exceed $2 million. Marina felt the floor disappear beneath her feet. "And why are you telling me this?" "Because your name appeared in some conversations. Patricia is trying to implicate you, saying you had privileged access to systems and could have manipulated information. But that's absurd. I only started having system access this week." "I know, Mari, and Raphael knows too. But I need to warn you. Edward is brother-in-law to one of the group's main investors. He won't fall alone." At that moment, Marina understood the dimension of what she was facing. It wasn't just a matter of professional competence, but a political war within the company. "What do you think I should do?" "Be impeccable. Document everything. And trust Raphael. He's a man of integrity, Mari. I know you two have a special connection." Marina blushed. "It's nothing like that, Camilla." "Of course it is," smiled her friend. "And you know what? He deserves someone like you. Since Claire died, he completely closed himself off. You're doing him good." Marina spent the rest of the morning reviewing all the documents she had prepared, making sure every piece of information was correct and documented. When Raphael arrived for the second meeting with the international businessman, she approached him discreetly. "I need to talk to you. It's important." "Now, we have the meeting in 10 minutes. It's about this meeting and about the internal investigation." Raphael looked at her seriously and led her to his office. "What do you know about the investigation?" "I know that Patricia and Edward are being investigated for embezzlement, and I know she's trying to involve me in this, to divert attention." Raphael sighed, running his hand through his hair. "We discovered the scheme a week ago. We were investigating discreetly, but apparently the news leaked." "Do you suspect me?" Marina asked directly. Raphael stared at her for a long moment. "Marina, if I suspected you, would you be having this conversation with me?" Her response was a shy but relieved smile. "Is there anything else I need to know?" Raphael continued. Yes, the contracts I'm reviewing for the meeting, some of them have strange clauses, values that don't match market standards. Raphael approached, interested. What kind of clauses? Marina opened her tablet and showed a comparative spreadsheet she had prepared. Look, the cleaning supplies contract has a value 40% above market, food supplies 35%, and all were signed by Patricia, with Edward's approval. Raphael studied the numbers in silence. Marina's analytical competence impressed him more and more. You did this analysis alone? Last night. I wanted to make sure the numbers I'd present to the international businessmen were correct. Marina, Raphael looked at her with an expression she couldn't decipher. Do you realize you just gave me evidence that could incriminate two influential people in this company? I realized. But I also realized that lying or omitting this information could compromise business with the international delegation and compromise you. The admiration in Raphael's blue eyes was undeniable. At that moment, he understood that Marina wasn't just intelligent and competent. She had integrity, a rare quality he had learned to value since taking over his family's company. Thank you for trusting me, he said, his voice loaded with emotion. Thank you for giving me a chance, she replied. They stood in silence for a moment, the tension palpable between them. Raphael took a step toward her, and Marina felt her heart accelerate. But before anything could happen, the secretary knocked on the door. Mr. Raphael, the international businessmen have arrived. The meeting was a success. With correct numbers and an impeccable presentation, Marina helped Raphael close an investment deal worth $15 million. The businessmen were impressed not just with the proposal, but with the transparency and competence of the team. At the end of the day, when all guests had left, Raphael and Marina were alone in the conference room, organizing the signed contracts. Marina, I need to ask you a question, said Raphael, stopping suddenly. Of course. Why did you help me? Why did you risk your position by telling me about the irregularities? Marina stopped organizing papers and faced him. Because you gave me an opportunity when no one else would. Because you believed in me when I doubted myself. And because, she hesitated. Because what? Because I saw in your eyes that you're a good man, and good men deserve the truth. Raphael felt something move inside his chest, an emotion he hadn't experienced in 2 years. He approached her slowly. Marina. This time she didn't back away. They stood there, very close, his blue eyes meeting hers, until Raphael raised his hand and gently touched her face. I shouldn't be feeling this, he whispered. What? She asked, her voice also low. This, he said, and kissed her. The kiss was gentle, almost hesitant, as if both were discovering a part of themselves that had been dormant. When they separated, both were breathless. Raphael, I'm sorry, he said, stepping away. I shouldn't have done that. You work for me and I... Don't apologize, Marina interrupted. Don't apologize for making me feel truly seen. They looked at each other for a long moment, both knowing they had crossed a line that would change everything between them. The following week was a whirlwind of emotions and discoveries. Raphael had formally initiated the investigation into Edward and Patricia, and evidence accumulated daily. Marina, now officially promoted to International Relations Coordinator, divided her time between consolidating the new international contracts and helping with the internal investigation. But what most occupied her thoughts was the kiss she had shared with Raphael.
And today,
he had become more
you
distant professionally,
As
too
a cleaner,
formal, as if fighting against something he felt. One afternoon, while reviewing documents in her office, Marina received an unexpected visit. Claire Miller, Edward's niece and executive secretary of the board. Marina, may I speak with you? Claire was a blonde, 35-year-old woman, always impeccably dressed, who occupied her position more through nepotism than competence. Marina invited her to sit. It's about my uncle and the investigation, Claire began, visibly nervous. Claire, I think you should talk to the legal department. No, Claire interrupted. I want to talk to you. I know. You have influence with Raphael now. Marina frowned. The insinuation was clear and unpleasant. "I don't know what you're talking about. Please, Mari. Everyone sees how he looks at you, how he's changed since you started working with him." Marina felt her blood boil, but kept her voice calm. "If you have something to tell me about the investigation, you can speak. Otherwise, my uncle may be involved in irregularities, but he's not the only one guilty," Claire said quickly. "There's someone above him ordering things." "Who?" "I can't say, but I can give you proof. In exchange, I want you to intercede for him with Raphael." Marina studied Claire's face. There was desperation there, but also something more, perhaps sincerity. "What kind of proof?" Claire opened her purse and pulled out a flash drive. "Emails, spreadsheets, conversation recordings, everything's here." Marina took the flash drive but made no promises. "I'll analyze the material and pass it to the responsible team. More than that I can't guarantee." When Claire left, Marina was alone with the flash drive, not knowing if she should trust the material. She decided to look for Raphael. She found him in his office, talking on the phone. When he saw her, he signaled for her to wait. Marina couldn't help but observe him, the way he gestured while speaking, the concentration in his blue eyes, the natural elegance of his movements. "Sorry for the delay," he said, hanging up. "What was it?" Marina told him about Claire's visit and handed over the flash drive. "Do you think we should trust her?" Raphael asked. "I think we should verify what she brought. If it's true that there's someone above Edward, then the problem is bigger than we imagined," Raphael completed. They decided to analyze the material together. As they navigated through the files, a complex plot was revealed. Edward really received orders from someone hierarchically superior, and the diversions were part of a broader scheme. "My God," Marina whispered, pointing to a spreadsheet. "Look at these values. It's not just a few thousand, it's millions." Raphael paled, seeing the numbers. If this is true, it could compromise the entire resort network. They worked until late at night, cross-referencing information and verifying document authenticity. Around 10 o'clock, Raphael ordered Chinese food for the office. "You didn't need to," said Marina, but she was hungry. "Of course I needed to. You're working more than me, and I haven't even paid you for last week yet." They ate in silence, the investigation tension mixed with the unresolved tension between them. Finally, Raphael broke the silence. "Marina, about what happened between us." "Raphael, you don't need to explain anything." "Yes, I do," he said, setting down his chopsticks. "You deserve honesty." He got up and went to the window, as he always did when he needed to think. "Claire, my wife, died in a car accident 2 years ago. We were married for 5 years, and I thought I would never be able to feel anything for someone again." Marina remained silent, respecting his moment. "When I saw you that first day, talking on the phone hidden behind the column, I saw something that caught my attention. It wasn't just your competence or intelligence, it was your dignity, the way you kept your head high, even in a position that didn't do justice to your potential." He turned to her. "And then I got to know you better, saw your work, your integrity, your strength, and I realized I was feeling something I hadn't felt in 2 years. Raphael, let me finish," he asked. "I know there's a difference in position between us. I know people will talk. I know it's complicated. But I also know I can't pretend I don't feel anything for you." Marina felt her heart race. She got up slowly and walked to him. "Do you think I care what people will say?" she said, stopping very close. "Raphael, I spent 3 years being invisible in this place. 3 years hearing that I wasn't enough, that I didn't deserve more than I had. And then you appeared and saw me. Really." She raised her hand and touched his face. "I don't care if you're my boss. I don't care if they'll say I'm a gold digger. I know who I am, and I know what I feel for you." "And what do you feel?" he asked, covering her hand with his. "I feel that you make me want to be even better than I am. I feel that when I'm with you, I can conquer the world. And I feel that—" She hesitated but decided to be brave. "I feel that I'm falling in love with you." Raphael pulled her closer, their faces inches apart. "Marina, are you sure?" Because if we start this, there's no going back. I'm not a man for casual relationships. I'm not a woman for casual relationships either, she replied. This time, when he kissed her, there was no hesitation. The kiss was deep, loaded with all the accumulated tension and feelings both had been repressing. When they separated, both knew their lives had changed forever, but reality awaited them. The next day, with evidence organized, Raphael convened an extraordinary board meeting. Besides Edward and Patricia, the main investors of the network were present, including Antonio Miller, Edward's brother and one of the founding partners. Marina was invited to present the discoveries. With nervousness but determination, she exposed the entire embezzlement scheme, presenting numbers, documents, and recordings. "Ladies and gentlemen," she concluded, "we estimate that the accumulated loss over the last 3 years is approximately $8 million. The silence in the room was deafening. Edward was pale, Patricia trembled visibly, and Antonio Miller looked at his brother with an expression of deep disappointment. "Edward," said Raphael, his voice firm, "do you have anything to declare?" "Raphael, I can explain everything." "There's no explanation," interrupted Antonio. "Edward, you betrayed the family's and company's trust. Starting today, you're fired and we'll take appropriate legal measures." "Antonio, please." "There's nothing more to discuss," said the partner, standing up. "Raphael, you have my full support for all necessary changes." After everyone left, Raphael and Marina were alone in the conference room. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Relieved, but also sad. People lost their jobs today." "People who made wrong choices," Raphael corrected. "You helped save the company, Marina. Don't forget that." He approached her and held her hands. "And now, what happens to us?" "Now," said Raphael,
Hi.
smiling,
How are you?
"I want to make you a
And
proposal.
today,
A
I want to tell
professional
you my
proposal
story.
and a personal
As a
one.
cleaner,
I'm listening. Professionally, I want you to permanently assume the coordination of international relations, with an appropriate salary and all benefits. Personally," he hesitated, "personally, I want the chance to truly win you over. I want to take you to dinner, know your dreams, your fears, your stories. I want you to know mine, too." Marina smiled, her blue eyes shining. "Raphael Anderson, you've already won me over, but I accept the dinner anyway." But not everything would be simple. At the end of that day, when Marina arrived home, she found a letter at her door. Inside, a revelation that would change everything. Information about her father, whom she thought was dead, and his connection to the Anderson family. The secret she was about to discover would test not only her relationship with Raphael, but question whether love would be enough to overcome the complications of the past. The letter trembled in Marina's hands. It was from a law firm in Los Angeles, informing about the location of her father, Carlos Santos, who had been an employee of Anderson & Sons construction company in the 1990s. The lawyer mentioned an unpaid labor debt and documents that would prove the company's negligence regarding employee safety. Marina sat on the couch in her small apartment, trying to process the information. Her father, whom she believed had abandoned the family, had actually worked for Raphael's family company, and apparently had suffered an accident that the company had tried to cover up. With trembling hands, she called the lawyer's number. "Dr. Ferreira, this is Marina Santos. I received your letter today." "Ah, Miss Santos. Good that you contacted us. I've been handling your father's case for some months. He hired me when he learned through internet news that you were working for the Anderson family. My father, is he alive?" "Yes, he is. He lives here in Los Angeles. He became paraplegic after the accident at the construction site in 2003. The construction company paid the minimum possible at the time, and he never had conditions to sue properly." Marina felt the world spin around her. Her father was alive and had suffered an accident working for Raphael's family. Would he like to see me?" "That's the reason for the letter, miss. Your father would very much like to talk to you, and he would also like to resolve the labor issue amicably." Marina scheduled a meeting for the weekend and hung up with a broken heart. How would she tell Raphael? How would she explain that her father had been harmed by his family's company? The next day at work, Raphael noticed something was wrong. "Marina, are you okay? You seem worried." "Raphael, I need to tell you something, but not here. Can we talk at your apartment tonight?" He agreed, worried about her seriousness. That night, in Raphael's elegant apartment in South Beach, Marina told everything. She saw his expression change as she revealed details about her father and the accident. "Marina, I didn't know anything about this," he said, running his hands through his hair. "In 2003, I was 15 years old. My father commanded the construction company." "I know you didn't know," she said, "but now you know, and I need to decide what to do." Raphael was silent for a long moment. "What is your heart telling you?" "It's telling me to meet my father, to understand what really happened, and it's also telling me that this doesn't change what I feel for you." Raphael approached her and held her hands. "Then that's what you should do, and I'm going with you." "Raphael, you don't need to." "Yes, I do. If we're going to build something together, I need to face the errors of my family's past. I want to meet your father, and I want to do the right thing." The following Saturday, they traveled together to Los Angeles. Carlos Santos lived in a simple house in East LA, adapted for his special needs. When Marina entered, he was in the living room, in his wheelchair, leafing through a photo album. "Dad?" she said, her voice choked. Carlos raised his eyes, and Marina saw where she had inherited her blue eyes. He was older, grayer, but still had the gentle smile she remembered from childhood. "My daughter," he said, extending his arms. Marina ran to him and hugged him, crying all the years of pain and abandonment she had carried. "Why did you never come back? Why did you never look for me?" she asked between sobs. "Because I had no way to support you, daughter. After the accident, I was unable to work. I thought you would be better without me." Raphael, who had remained discreetly at the entrance, approached. "Mr. Santos, I'm Raphael Anderson. I'd like to talk to you about the accident." Carlos studied his face for a moment. "You're Antonio Anderson's son?" "I am." "You have—" "His eyes," said Carlos, "but I hope you have a better heart." Raphael knelt beside the wheelchair. "Mr. Carlos, I came here to apologize for what my family did to you, and to try to repair the error." "Raphael," Marina began. "No, Marina. It's important," said Raphael. "Mr. Carlos, I'd like to offer fair compensation for the accident and its consequences. I'd also like to offer you a job in our company, in a position compatible with your conditions, if you're interested." Carlos was silent for a moment, then looked at Marina. "And you, daughter, what do you think of all this?" "I think each person is responsible for their own choices, Dad. Raphael isn't guilty of past errors, but he's willing to correct them. That makes me love him even more." Carlos smiled. "Then I accept the apologies and the proposal, but with one condition." "Which one?" Raphael asked. "I want you to take good care of each other. My daughter deserves all the happiness in the world." 3 months later, Miami Beach resort had completely transformed. With the changes implemented by Marina and Raphael, the company had not only recovered financially, but had become a reference in social responsibility and inclusion. Carlos Santos had moved to Miami and worked as a work safety consultant for the entire network. Marina had been promoted to Director of International Relations and Diversity, and her projects were already being studied by other companies in the sector. But the greatest transformation had been personal. On Christmas Eve, Raphael took Marina to dinner at the most romantic restaurant in Miami at South Beach. The table was reserved on the terrace, with a view of the ocean and the Art Deco buildings illuminated. "Marina," he said during dessert, "7 months ago, I was a man who had given up on love. I thought my heart had died along with Claire." He stood up and knelt beside the table, taking a small box from his pocket. "You taught me that the heart can love again, differently, but less intensely. You taught me that true love doesn't replace the past, but builds a future." Marina felt her eyes fill with tears. "Marina Santos, will you marry me?" The ring was simple but elegant, with a diamond that reflected the restaurant lights. But what shone brightest were Raphael's blue eyes, full of love and hope. "Yes," she
Hi,
said,
how are
extending
you?
her trembling hand.
And today
"Yes,
I want to
I
tell you
want
my
to."
story.
The entire restaurant
As a
applauded when
cleaner,
Raphael kissed her, and Marina felt she had finally found her place in the world. A year later, on the beach of Key Biscayne, under an altar decorated with tropical flowers, Marina and Raphael got married. Carlos Santos walked his daughter down the aisle, proud and emotional. Julia was the maid of honor, and Camilla from HR was one of the bridesmaids. During the vows, Marina said, "Raphael, you found me when I was invisible and taught me to shine. You gave me a chance when no one else would, but more importantly, you loved me for who I am, not for what I could become." Raphael responded, "Marina, you gave me back my life. You taught me that love isn't about finding someone perfect, but about finding someone perfect for you. I promise to love you, respect you, and support you in all your dreams." When the judge declared them husband and wife, their kiss was accompanied by the sound of waves and the applause of guests. 2 years later, Marina was in her office, now much larger, with panoramic view of Biscayne Bay, when she received a call that would change her life again. "Professor Anderson," said the voice on the other end, "this is from Harvard University. We would like to invite you to teach a course on multicultural management and business inclusion." Marina smiled. She had accepted to do her master's online while working, and her articles on diversity in the corporate environment had gained international recognition. "When would it be?" she asked. "Next semester. It would be for 3 months, but we understand you have commitments in the US. "Actually," said Marina, looking out the window and seeing Raphael walking on the beach with Claire, their 6-month-old daughter, "I think we can arrange something. My husband has been needing a vacation anyway." When Raphael came home that night, he found Marina preparing dinner, shrimp and grits, his favorite dish. "How was your day?" he asked, kissing her and taking the baby in his arms. "Interesting. I received a proposal to teach at Harvard." Raphael stopped, surprised. "And you? Want to go?" I want us to go. For 3 months. It would be good for our daughter to see the world. And you always said you wanted to expand business to the Northeast." Raphael smiled, that smile that had conquered Marina on the first day. "Mrs. Anderson, you really are a woman of vision. I learned from my husband," she said, stealing a kiss from him. That night, after Claire fell asleep, they stayed on the balcony of their house in Coral Gables, observing the movement of boats in the bay. Marina was leaning against Raphael's chest, her fingers playing with her wedding ring. "Do you regret anything?" she asked. "Taking so long to notice you," he replied, kissing her hair. "I don't regret anything," she said. "Not even the difficulties, not even the pain. Everything brought me to you. And now we have a whole life ahead. A company to grow, a daughter to raise, dreams to fulfill, and lots of love to share," Raphael completed. While they watched the stars reflected in the water, both knew they had found something rare and precious, a love that had been born from mutual respect, grown in adversity, and flourished in trust. Marina Santos, the girl who felt invisible, had become Marina Anderson, a woman who shone with her own light, and Raphael, the man who thought he had lost the capacity to love, had discovered that the heart has infinite space for new loves without diminishing the old ones. Epilogue, 5 years later, when journalists asked Marina about the secret of her transformation from housekeeper to successful businesswoman, she always answered the same thing. "The secret wasn't changing who I was. It was finding someone who saw who I always was." And when they asked Raphael how he had won the heart of one of the most admired businesswomen in Florida, he would smile and respond, "I didn't win her over. I just had the luck to be won over by her." Their story became legend in the Brazilian business world, but for them it was simply proof that true Love happens when two people see each other beyond appearances and choose to grow together. At Miami Beach Resort, today one of the most sustainable and inclusive hotel chains in the country, there's a plaque in the main hall that says, "Everyone deserves to be seen. Everyone deserves a chance." And in Marina's office, next to the photo of her mother Grace, there's another photo. Her and Raphael on their wedding day, looking at each other as if they had found the greatest treasure in the world. Because they had. 20 years later, the morning sun filtered through the white linen curtains of Marina's office at the headquarters of Anderson International in Miami. At 40, she had become one of the most respected businesswomen in America, but still maintained the same humility and determination that had characterized her since her days as a housekeeper. On the wall behind her desk, dozens of diplomas and certifications told the story of a life dedicated to learning. Masters in linguistics from Harvard University, MBA in international management from Wharton, PhD in administration from Stanford. But the photo that filled her with most pride was a simple black and white image. Her at 20, in housekeeper uniform, smiling shyly next to her mother, Grace. "Mom," she whispered, gently touching the glass frame, "you wouldn't believe what we achieved." The door opened softly, and Raphael entered carrying 2 cups of coffee. At 53, he had acquired some grey streaks that only increased his charm, and his blue eyes still shone with the same intensity as the first day they met. "Talking to Mrs. Grace again?" he asked, kissing his wife's forehead. "Always. She's my main advisor," Marina replied, accepting the coffee. "Today marks exactly 20 years since we met, you know." Raphael smiled, pulling a chair to sit beside her. "As if I could forget. The day a housekeeper changed my life forever." "A housekeeper you almost didn't notice," Marina joked. "Oh, but I noticed from the first moment. There was something about you. A light that couldn't be hidden even by the simplest uniform." Their conversation was interrupted by the entrance of Claire, now 19, a vibrant young woman who had inherited her father's blue eyes and her mother's determination. A journalism student at University of Miami, she carried a tablet and an animated expression. "Dad, Mom, did you see? The article about the Lisbon branch inauguration made the front page of the Miami Herald." Claire showed the screen, where a photo of the Anderson family cutting the inaugural ribbon was prominently featured. The headline read, "Florida Empire Conquers Europe. Anderson International Network inaugurates 50th hotel." The trajectory of Marina Santos Anderson, from housekeeper to CEO of one of the largest hotel chains in Latin America, continues inspiring millions of people. Claire read aloud. "Mum, you're officially a legend." Marina laughed, but Raphael noticed a flicker of melancholy in her eyes. "What is it, love?
Hi,
Sometimes I wonder if
how
I
are you?
deserve all this,
And
if it
today,
wasn't
I want
just
to tell
luck."
you my story.
"Marina Santos
As a
Anderson,"
cleaner,
said Raphael, using the firm tone she knew well. "You built all this with your own hands. Every hotel, every promoted employee, every transformed life. The luck was mine in finding you." Claire rolled her eyes with typical filial affection. "You two are impossible. 20 years married and still look at each other like lovesick teenagers." "That's because we still are," said Marina, winking at her daughter. Raphael's phone vibrated. It was Camilla, now General Director of Human Resources for the group. "Raphael, the scholarship award ceremony starts in an hour. Is Marina ready?" "I'm here, Camilla," said Marina, taking the phone. "How are the final numbers?" 500 scholarships this year. Since we created the Real Opportunity Program, we've already benefited more than 3,000 low-income young people. And Mari, I have a surprise for you." "What kind of surprise?" "You'll see. We'll meet at the auditorium." An hour later, the main auditorium of Miami Beach Resort was packed. 500 young people from underprivileged communities in Miami and the metropolitan area anxiously awaited to receive their full study scholarships. The program, created by Marina 5 years earlier, had become a national reference in social inclusion. On stage, Marina adjusted the microphone when she noticed movement in the front rows. An elderly man in a wheelchair waved discreetly at her. It was her father, Carlos Santos, at 75, still working as a safety consultant for the group. "Good afternoon," Marina began, her voice echoing through the auditorium. 20 years ago, I was in your position, young, full of dreams, but without resources to fulfill them. I worked as a housekeeper in this same resort, cleaning the corridors where today I walk as CEO. A murmur of admiration ran through the audience. Many people ask me what the secret of success is, and I always answer, there is no secret. There's hard work, constant study, and mainly the courage to believe that you deserve more than circumstances offer. A young black woman in the front row raised her hand. "Mrs. Marina, I work as a cleaning assistant in an office. Sometimes I feel invisible. How did you deal with that?" Marina smiled, recognizing herself in the question. "I reminded myself every day that invisibility is temporary, but knowledge is permanent. Every book you read, every course you take, every skill you develop, no one can take from you. Use that time of invisibility to prepare for when opportunity comes." Raphael, watching from backstage, felt familiar pride grow in his chest. Marina had a natural gift for inspiring people, especially those who came from where she did. "Now," Marina continued, "I want to introduce you to some of our veteran scholarship recipients, who today hold important positions in our company and others." The lights came on in a specific section of the auditorium, revealing dozens of young professionals, all former program beneficiaries. "Julia Nascimento," said Marina, pointing to an elegantly dressed young black woman. "Former garbage collector, today marketing director of our Efter Lauderdale branch." Applause echoed through the auditorium. "Paul Henry Santos, former shoe shiner, today executive chef of our restaurant in Orlando." More applause. "And many others who transformed not only their lives but the lives of their families and communities." Camilla came on stage with a sealed envelope. "Marina, before we deliver the scholarships, we have a special tribute." From the side curtains emerged more than 50 people, all wearing shirts with the phrase, "Thank you, Marina." They were former promoted employees, former scholarship recipients, family members benefited by the company's social programs. 20 years ago," Camilla said to the microphone, "a young housekeeper decided to answer a phone call that would change her life. Today, that same young woman has already changed the lives of thousands of people. Marina, you didn't just transform a company. You transformed the concept of business leadership in America." Tears ran down Marina's face as she observed familiar faces in the crowd. Julia, her eternal best friend, now social projects manager. Employees she had personally promoted. Young people who had found opportunities through her programs. "But the real surprise," continued Camilla, "is this." She opened the envelope and pulled out an official document. Congress unanimously approved the creation of the Marina Santos Law, which requires companies with more than 1,000 employees to allocate 2% of their gross revenue to social inclusion and educational programs. The auditorium exploded in applause. Marina covered her face with her hands, completely emotional. Raphael came on stage and hugged her. "Love, you officially became public policy," he whispered in her ear. When the applause finally ceased, Marina returned to the microphone. "I don't know what to say. When I left here 20 years ago, I dreamed of going to college. I never imagined that one day my name would be in a federal law." She paused, composing herself. "But I want to share this honor with two people who are no longer with us, but whose presence I feel every day. My mother, Grace Santos, who taught me that dignity has no price, and Claire Anderson, Raphael's first wife, who taught me, even without knowing me, that true love doesn't compete with the past, but honors its memory by building a better future." Raphael squeezed her hand, emotional. Even after 20 years together, Marina still surprised him with her generosity and wisdom. "And now," said Marina, smiling through tears, "let's get to what matters. Delivering these scholarships and seeing 500 more dreams begin to come true." The ceremony lasted 3 hours. Each young person went up on stage individually, received their scholarship and posed for a photo with Marina and Raphael. For each one, she had a personalized word of encouragement. When the last scholarship recipient came down from the stage, Marina was exhausted but radiant. The family headed to the resort's VIP area, where a small family celebration awaited them. 20 years, said Carlos Santos, being pushed in his wheelchair by Claire. Daughter, who would have thought that the shy girl who couldn't even look me in the eyes would become one of the most influential women in the country. Dad, I could look you in the eyes. It was the pain I couldn't face. Carlos held his daughter's hand. And today, can you face the pain? Marina looked around, Raphael talking animatedly with Claire about her plans for an internship at the newspaper, Camilla organizing photos from the ceremony, Julia playing with her small children in the resort playground. Today I understand that pain is part of the story, Dad, but it doesn't have to be the ending. That night, when everyone had gone home, Marina and Raphael walked alone on Key Biscayne Beach. It was a ritual they had maintained for 2 decades. Whenever something important happened in their lives, they came here to talk and reflect. Are you happy?
Hi.
Raphael
How are
asked,
you?
stopping to watch the
And
waves
today,
break on the
I
sand.
want to tell you my
Profoundly
story.
happy,
As a
Marina
cleaner-
replied, but also a little scared. Why? Because sometimes I feel like I have everything I ever dreamed of. And when you have everything, there's always the fear of losing it. Raphael turned her to face him, gently holding her face. Marina, you can lose money, you can lose companies, you can lose recognition, but you'll never lose who you are. And you'll never lose my love. That I can guarantee. How can you be so certain? Because I've known you for 20 years. I've seen you face prejudice, betrayal, family difficulties, business pressures. And in each challenge, you became stronger, wiser, more generous. You're not just the woman I love. You're the person I admire most in the world. They kissed under the moonlight, with the sound of waves in the background, as they had done on their honeymoon on this same beach. Raphael? Yes? Thank you for seeing me when I was invisible. Thank you for teaching me to truly see. While they walked back home, Marina thought about the young people who had received scholarships that day. How many of them would become doctors, engineers, teachers, entrepreneurs? How many lives would be transformed? How many families would escape poverty? At home, they found Claire still awake, working on her laptop in the living room. Daughter still studying. Actually, I'm writing, said Claire, turning the screen for them to see. An article about today's ceremony. My journalism professor said it's important to document history when it's happening. Marina approached and read the title, The Silent Revolution, How a Former Housekeeper is Changing America. Claire, it's the truth, Mom. You don't realize it, but it's a revolution indeed. Every young person you help, every employee you promote, every opportunity you create, you're changing the country's social structure, one person at a time. Raphael smiled proudly at his daughter. Your mother always says that real changes happen from bottom to top, never from top to bottom. Because it's true, said Marina. No one changes the world alone, but everyone can change someone's life. And if each changed person changes someone else's life, you create a chain reaction, Claire completed. Exactly. Later, when Claire went to sleep, Marina and Raphael stayed alone on the balcony of their house, observing the city lights in the distance. Raphael, can I confess something? Always. Sometimes I still dream that I'm cleaning corridors. I wake up at dawn thinking I'm going to be late for housekeeping work. Raphael laughed softly. Seriously? Seriously. And in those dreams I don't get sad. I get nostalgic. Because it was there that everything began. It was cleaning those corridors that I learnt about humility, about effort, about dignity in work. You never lost that, you know. The humility. It's one of the things I love most about you. Because I know where I came from, and I never want to forget. Raphael pulled her closer. And where are we going now? Now? Marina smiled, her blue eyes shining with the same determination from 20 years ago. Now we continue doing what we've always done. Working hard, loving deeply, and creating opportunities for other people to fulfill their dreams. And retirement? Have you thought about it? Raphael Anderson, you're 53 years old and talking about retirement? Well, maybe not complete retirement, but maybe we could travel more, meet the grandchildren our daughter will give us someday. First, she needs to date someone, Marina laughed. True, she's too focused on her career. I don't know who she inherited that from. Very funny. They stayed in silence for a moment, simply appreciating the night's tranquility and each other's company. Marina? If you could go back in time and change something in our story, would you? Marina thought for a long moment. I would change the pain my mother went through before dying. I would change the years I lost without knowing my father. I would change the suffering he went through after the accident. Anything else? No. Everything else, even the most difficult moments, brought us here. And here is perfect. Even the 3 years cleaning corridors. Especially the 3 years cleaning corridors. They taught me the value of honest work and gave me empathy for the employees I lead today. Raphael kissed her forehead. I love you, Marina Santos Anderson. I love your strength, your kindness, your intelligence, your beauty. But mainly I love your soul. And I love you, Raphael Anderson. I love your integrity, your generosity, your capacity to grow and change. And I love the man you became by my side. The next morning, Marina woke up early as she always did. While preparing coffee, she read the news on her tablet. Yesterday's ceremony had become national headlines. She turned on the TV and was surprised to see her own image on the morning news. Florida businesswoman Marina Santos Anderson has become a symbol of social transformation in America. Her trajectory inspired the creation of public policies and business programs throughout the country, said the presenter. Claire came down the stairs running, still in pajamas. Mom, you're on TV. I'm seeing, Marina laughed. Is it strange seeing your own mother as national news? A little, but it's also responsibility. When you become a public example, you need to make sure you're setting the right example. Raphael appeared in the kitchen, already dressed for work. Good morning, national celebrity, he joked, kissing his wife. Stop being silly, said Marina, but she was smiling. Actually, said Raphael, pulling up a chair, I wanted to talk about this. Yesterday I received 3 different proposals. What kind of proposals? A publisher wants to publish your biography. A TV channel wants to make a documentary about our story. And an American university wants to offer you a leadership chair. Marina almost dropped her coffee cup. What? I'm serious. Harvard, MIT, and Stanford sent formal proposals. Claire screamed with excitement. Mom, you could be a Harvard professor. Calm down. Everyone, it's too much to process at once. You don't need to decide now, said Raphael, but I want you to know that whatever decision you make, you'll have my full support. And mine too, added Claire. It would be incredible to have a Harvard professor mother. Marina was silent for a moment, absorbing the possibilities. Can I take Claire with me? She finally asked. To Harvard? Raphael laughed. Love, Claire still has 3 years of college here. She could finish there. It would be an incredible experience for her. And you? Asked Claire. Would you really give up everything here to go teach in the United States? It wouldn't be giving up everything. It would be expanding everything. Taking our business philosophy, our experience in social inclusion, our management models to an international audience. Raphael observed the growing excitement in his wife's eyes. You want to go, don't you? I do, Marina admitted, but only if it's something we do together, as a family. Well, said Raphael,
Hi.
smiling,
How are
I
you?
always wanted to see Boston
And
in
today,
winter.
I want to tell you my
Seriously,
story.
you would really do
As
it.
a cleaner,
Marina, said Raphael, holding her hands. 20 years ago, you accepted to go with me wherever our company needed. Now it's my turn to go with you wherever your dreams take you. Claire clapped. The Anderson family is going to conquer the United States. They laughed together, and Marina felt a familiar wave of gratitude. No matter where life took them, they would face it together. That night, after Claire went to a college party, Marina and Raphael sat in her home office, surrounded by papers, contracts and proposals. That's how they always made important decisions, together, analyzing every detail. "If we accept Harvard," said Marina, studying the documents, "it would be for 2 years, enough time to develop a complete program of case studies based on our experience. And the company? We can manage remotely. We have an excellent team here, and technology allows constant supervision. You've already decided, haven't you?" asked Raphael, smiling. "You know me too well," Marina laughed, "but I want to make sure you're really comfortable with this." Raphael got up and went to the window, observing Miami's nighttime movement. "You know what I'm thinking?" "What?" "I'm thinking that 20 years ago you were afraid to answer a phone at work. And now you're considering teaching at the most prestigious university in the world. It's quite a transformation, isn't it? It's inspiring, and it makes me realize we still have a lot to grow, a lot to learn, a lot to conquer." Marina approached him at the window. "So, we're going to Harvard?" "We're going to Harvard," confirmed Raphael, turning to her. "But under one condition." "Which one?" "That you also write the biography. Your story needs to be told. It could inspire millions of people around the world." "Raphael." "No, Marina. You always say knowledge should be shared. Your journey is knowledge. Your experience can change lives you can't even imagine." Marina was silent, considering. "If I write, I want it to be our story, not just mine, because I wouldn't have gotten where I am without you." "Our story, then," Raphael agreed. They kissed, sealing another important decision in their lives. 6 months later, the Anderson family was moving to Cambridge, Massachusetts. The farewell from Miami was emotional. Hundreds of employees, former scholarship recipients and friends gathered at the airport to say goodbye. "2 years go by quickly," said Camilla, hugging Marina, "and we'll be here when you come back. Take good care of our company," asked Raphael. "Take good care of our dreams," added Marina. In her first class at Harvard, Marina was nervous. The room was packed with MBA students from various countries. When she entered, wearing an elegant but simple suit, she noticed the curious looks. "Good morning," she began, writing her name on the board. "I'm Marina Santos Anderson, and I'm going to tell you how a housekeeper can teach valuable lessons about business leadership." A murmur of interest ran through the room. "Anyone here ever worked in cleaning services?" she asked. 2 hands rose timidly. "Great. You two will be my assistants in this class, because today we're going to learn that there's no small job, only small visions." At the end of class, students gave a standing ovation. Marina had managed once again to inspire people to see opportunities where others saw only obstacles. That night, in her temporary apartment in Cambridge, Marina called Camilla in Miami. "How was the first day of our international professor?" Camilla joked. "Wonderful. Different, challenging, but wonderful." "And Raphael?" "He's loving it. Today he visited MIT to see the Business Innovation Laboratories. I think we're going back with our heads full of new ideas." "And Claire? In love with Boston. She already got an internship at the Boston Globe. Our daughter is going to be an international journalist." "The Anderson family doesn't stop growing," Camilla laughed. When she hung up, Marina found Raphael and Claire in the living room, working together on the laptop. "What are you doing?" "Starting the biography," said Claire. "Dad is telling how your first meeting was, and I'm transcribing." "And it's even more romantic than you always told," said Claire, smiling. Raphael pulled Marina to the couch. "Tell her about the day you cleaned my office." "For the first time after the promotion." "Oh, that," Marina blushed. "Tell." "Well, 3 days after I started working with your father, I went to clean his office at dawn before he arrived. I wanted to leave everything perfect. And she left a small note on my desk," continued Raphael. "It said, 'Thank you for the opportunity. I promise to be worthy of the trust placed in me. M.S.' "How sweet," said Claire. "I kept the note until today," said Raphael. "It's framed in my office in Miami. Dad, you're an incurable romantic." I learned from your mother that small gestures have big meanings. Claire continued typing, documenting one more of the hundreds of small stories that formed her parents' great romance. Mom, can I ask a personal question? Of course. Do you plan to have more children? Marina and Raphael looked at each other, surprised. Why do you ask that? Because I would love to have a little brother or sister. And you're still young. Mom is 40, Dad is 53. There's still time. Raphael laughed. Claire, your mother and I are too busy conquering the world to think about more babies. But it's not impossible, added Marina, winking at her daughter. Seriously? Claire screamed. We're talking about it, admitted Marina. Maybe when we return to the US. Oh my God, I'm going to have a little brother. Calm down, Claire. It's still just a conversation. Raphael laughed. But from the way he looked at Marina, Claire realized it was more than just a conversation. 2 years passed quickly. Marina became one of Harvard's most popular professors, her classes always packed. She developed her own teaching method, combining business theory with practical and human experiences. Her students didn't just learn about business, but about conscious leadership and social responsibility. Raphael, in turn, had established important partnerships with American universities for exchange programs and had expanded the family business to 3 American cities. Claire had graduated in journalism from Boston University and gotten a job at the Washington Post, covering corporate social responsibility topics. When it was time to return to Miami, the farewell was equally emotional. Marina had touched the lives of hundreds of students, who now carried her leadership philosophy to companies around the world. Professor Anderson, said one of her favorite students, Michael Chen, who had gotten a job at a Chinese multinational, thank you for teaching me that. Success isn't measured only in money. Take that lesson to China, Michael. The world needs leaders like you. Back in Miami, the reception was triumphant. The airport was full of employees, friends, family, and press. Marina and Raphael were received as national heroes. How does it feel to be back home? Asked a reporter. Like I never left, Marina replied. America has always been our heart. Harvard was just our graduate school.
How are you?
That first night back,
today,
they had dinner
I
at home with family. And Carlos Santos, now 77, was more fragile, but his eyes still shone with pride. Daughter, did you know you were in the Chinese newspaper? A former student of yours sent a copy. Really, Dad? Really? You're famous worldwide. Fame is temporary, Dad, but the impact we cause on people, that's eternal. After dinner, when everyone had gone home, Marina and Raphael went up to their room. It was strange being back in their own room after 2 years. Miss it? Asked Raphael. A lot. The house, a company, the employees, the friends, and me. I never missed you, said Marina, hugging him, because you were with me the whole time. And now, what are the ex-Harvard professor's plans? Now I want to implement here everything I learned there. I want to create a business studies center attached to our company. I want to bring international professors to America. And I want what? I want to have another child with you. Raphael stopped, surprised. Seriously. Claire is right. We're still young, and it would be beautiful to give her a little brother. Marina Santos Anderson, you never stop surprising me. I hope I never stop, she said, kissing him. A year later, while Marina coordinated the inauguration of the International Center for Business Studies at Anderson, attached to the resort, a special surprise awaited her. At 41, she was 6 months pregnant with twins. Mom, are you sure you can work so late? Asked Claire, now 22, and working as international correspondent for the Miami Herald. Claire, I'm a pregnant woman, not an invalid, Marina laughed, caressing her already prominent belly. Besides, the boys seem to like the hustle. They get calmer when I'm working. The boys? Do you already know the gender? 2 boys, said Raphael, entering the room with a stack of documents. John and Peter Anderson. John and Peter? Claire smiled. Very American names. Your mother insisted, said Raphael, kissing Marina's forehead. She said they'll be born in America and should have names that honor our culture. The inauguration of the International Center for Business Studies was a grand event. 500 businessmen from all over Latin America were present, plus professors from Harvard, MIT, Stanford, and other renowned universities that Marina had won over during her stay in the United States. "Ladies and gentlemen," said Marina in her opening speech, her hands resting on her belly, "today we're not just inaugurating a study center. We're planting seeds of transformation that will flourish for generations." Dr. Robert Harrison, Dean of Harvard Business School, took the stage. Professor Marina Anderson was one of the most impactful educators we've had at our institution. Today, we have the privilege of being partners in her vision here in America. After the ceremony, during the cocktail reception, Marina was approached by a young Argentine businesswoman. "Señora Anderson, soy Valentina Morales, de Buenos Aires. Leí su biografía y quería conocerla personalmente." "It's a pleasure, Valentina. What brought you here?" "Su historia me inspiró a crear mi propia empresa de microcrédito para mujeres. Tenemos más de 1000 beneficiarias en Argentina." Marina smiled, touched. "And you came all the way here to tell me that?" "Vine para agradecerle. Su ejemplo me enseñó que es posible cambiar el mundo desde cualquier posición." Conversations like this repeated throughout the night. Businessmen from Chile, Peru, Colombia, Mexico, all with stories of how Marina's trajectory had inspired changes in their own companies and communities. "Rafael," Marina whispered during a break, "do you realize what's happening?" "What?" "We're creating an international network of social transformation. Each person here will go back to their country and implement projects similar to ours." Raphael looked around, seeing the animated conversation groups, the business card exchanges, the plans being discussed. "You're right. This is bigger than we imagined." That night, at home, while Marina rested on the couch with her feet elevated, Claire showed the article she had written about the event. "Mom, the hashtag #Transformation Anderson is trending worldwide on Twitter." "How so?" "People are posting photos of social projects they implemented, inspired by our story." "Look," Claire showed her phone. "A school in Mozambique created a scholarship program for girls. A company in Mexico implemented quotas for low-income employees. A hospital in India created a training center for nurses from rural communities." Marina was silent, processing the information. "This is unbelievable. Mom, do you realize your story transcended borders? That people around the world are changing their realities based on your example?" Raphael sat next to Marina, holding her hand. "Love, you created a global movement." "We created," Marina corrected. "None of this would be possible without you, without Claire, our team, without everyone who believed." Twins John and Peter were born on a sunny April morning, 3 weeks early, but perfectly healthy. The hospital was taken over by a small crowd of company employees, friends and family, anxious to meet the new members of the Anderson family. "They have Dad's blue eyes," said Claire, holding John in her arms while Raphael rocked Peter. "And Mom's stubbornness," Raphael joked. "They were born early because they didn't want to wait." Marina, still weak from delivery, watched the scene with tears in her eyes. "Grace," she whispered, looking at the sky through the room window. "Mom, you have 4 grandchildren now." Carlos Santos, in his wheelchair beside the bed, held his daughter's hand. "She's watching, daughter. She's watching, and she's proud." 2 months later, Marina was back at work, balancing motherhood of twins with managing a business empire that now extended across 3 countries. She had hired 2 specialized nannies, but insisted on breastfeeding the boys personally and participating in all important moments. "Marina," said Camilla, entering her office where she was nursing John while reviewing contracts, "an interesting proposal arrived." "What kind of proposal?" "The World Economic Forum wants you to be the keynote speaker at the next meeting in Davos. The theme is Inclusive Leadership for the 21st Century. Marina stopped rocking John and looked at Camilla. "Davos, the World Economic Forum, the very one. Apparently, Your work caught the attention of world leaders. They want you to present the American model of business inclusion. Camilla, it's the most important stage in the world for economic discussions. And they want you there, the former housekeeper who became a global reference in social transformation. Marina was silent for a moment, cradling John, who had fallen asleep. I'll accept under one condition. Which one? I want to take 3 former scholarship recipients from our program with me to show in practice how inclusion works. Marina, these people have never left America. Exactly. It's time to
Hi,
change that.
how are you?
3 months later,
And today,
Marina was
I
on
want
the
to tell
main
you my
stage
story.
of the Davos Convention
As a
Center
cleaner,
before an audience composed of CEOs of the world's largest companies, presidents of countries, leaders of international organizations, and Nobel Prize winners in economics. Beside her, 3 young Americans, Ana Paula, former garbage collector who became an environmental engineer, Marcus, former shoe shiner who became a systems programmer, and Fernanda, former domestic worker who became a nutritionist specialized in food security. Ladies and gentlemen, Marina began, her voice echoing through the auditorium, allow me to present the true power of social inclusion. She gestured to her 3 companions. Ana Paula developed a recycling system that our company implemented in 50 hotels, reducing waste sent to landfills by 70%. Marcus created an app that connects local suppliers with large companies, generating income for thousands of small producers. Fernanda implemented a nutritional program that reduced child malnutrition in 12 communities in Miami. A murmur of admiration ran through the audience. These 3 young people weren't born into privileged families. They didn't have education at elite schools. They didn't inherit companies or fortunes. They had only one thing: opportunity. Marina paused, letting the message be absorbed. And here's the central question I want to propose today. How many Ana Paulas, Marcus and Fernandas exist in your companies, in your communities, in your countries, waiting just for an opportunity? The presentation lasted 45 minutes and was interrupted by applause 15 times. When it ended, the ovation lasted 5 uninterrupted minutes. During the question period, the CEO of one of the world's largest technology companies raised his hand. Professor Anderson, how can we implement your inclusion model on a global scale? The answer is here, said Marina, pointing to Ana Paula, Marcus and Fernanda. Don't implement my model. Create your own model based on the needs and realities of your communities. What works in America may not work in China or Germany, but the principle is universal. Every human being has potential. Our function as leaders is to create conditions for that potential to flourish. After the conference, Marina was approached by dozens of leaders interested in partnerships and collaborations. But the conversation that most marked her was with a young German executive. Professor Anderson, I'm the daughter of Turkish immigrants. I grew up in a poor neighborhood in Berlin. Your story inspired me to create an investment fund focused on companies led by immigrants and refugees. And how's it going? We've already invested in 30 companies. The financial return is excellent, but the social return is transformative. What's the fund's name? Opportunity Europe, said the young woman, smiling. Inspired by your Real Opportunity program. Marina felt a chill of emotion. You're spreading hope, dear. Keep going. On the trip back to America, while the plane flew over the Atlantic, Marina reflected on the magnitude of what had just happened. In Davos, she hadn't just represented her company or her country. She had represented all the invisible people of the world, all those who needed just a chance to show their worth. Ana Paula, sitting beside her, interrupted her thoughts. Professor Marina, can I confess something? Of course, Anna. When I was collecting garbage at the Miami landfill, sometimes I looked at planes passing by and imagined where those people were going. I never thought that one day I'd be inside one of those planes, returning from an international conference where I talked about my work. And how do you feel? I feel like my life is no longer just mine. I feel responsible for honoring the opportunity I received and helping other people receive theirs. Anna, that's the definition of true leadership. Back in Miami, Marina found a schedule packed with interview requests, international partnership proposals, and speaking invitations. But what most moved her was a handwritten letter waiting on her desk. It was from a 16-year-old girl from a small town in rural Florida. Mrs. Marina, my name is Louisa. I work as a housekeeper at a school at night to help my mother. During the day, I study sophomore year of high school. I read your biography and watched your speeches on YouTube. I want to be like you when I grow up. I want to study business administration and create opportunities for other people like us. Can you give me some advice? Marina asked Camilla to locate the girl's phone number and called personally. Louisa, this is Marina Anderson. Mrs. Marina? I can't believe it's really you. It's me, dear. I received your letter and want to make you a proposal. What kind of proposal? I want to offer you a full scholarship to study at the best prep school in Miami, and when you get into university, I want to offer you a complete study scholarship, plus paid internship at our company. Louisa was silent for a moment, then started crying. Mrs. Marina, is this real? It's very real, Louisa, but I have one condition. Which one? When you graduate and are established, I want you to do the same for another young woman who's in your current situation. I promise, Mrs. Marina, I promise. This conversation gave birth to Marina's most ambitious project, the National Network of Opportunity Multipliers. The idea was simple. Each person benefited by the company's programs committed to, in the future, benefit at least 2 other people. It's a geometric progression of social transformation, Marina explained to Raphael during dinner. If each helped person helps 2 others, and those 2 help 2 more each, in a decade we'll have transformed millions of lives. And how will we monitor this? Through an app. Each beneficiary will have a digital profile where they'll record their achievements and the people they helped. This way, we can track the real and long-term impact of our social investments. Claire, now working as communication consultant for the company, looked up from her laptop. Mom, this is revolutionary. You're going to create the first social network dedicated exclusively to social impact. Exactly, said Marina. And I want you to coordinate the project. Me? But Mom, this is huge. Claire, you're 22 years old. You have a journalism degree. You understand digital communication, and mainly, you grew up seeing how social transformation works in practice. I don't know anyone more qualified. Raphael smiled, watching mother and daughter discuss project details while the twins played on the living room floor. Marina, he said when both paused, do you realize you're creating a legacy that will last generations? We're creating, she corrected, as she always did. And I hope John and Peter one day continue this work. As if they had understood the conversation, the 2 8-month-old boys crawled to their parents, trying to climb the couch. These 2 are going to be trouble, Raphael laughed, picking up Peter. I hope so, said Marina, lifting John. I hope they question everything, don't conform to injustices.
Hi.
Use the
How
privileges they'll have to help
And
those
today,
who don't
I want
have
to tell
them.
you my story.
They will, love. With
As a
parents
cleaner-
like you, it can't be any different. 2 years passed, quickly. The National Network of Opportunity Multipliers had become a phenomenon, with more than 100,000 participants throughout America. The app developed by Claire had been downloaded by millions of people, not just in America, but in 15 countries. Marina, now 43, had become one of the most influential women in Latin America. Her speeches were watched by millions of people, her books translated into 20 languages, and her social inclusion methodologies studied at universities worldwide. But what most filled her with pride weren't the awards or recognitions. It was seeing the daily small miracles that her philosophy had inspired. Like Louisa, the young housekeeper who had become a business administration student and had already secured scholarships for 3 other girls from her hometown. Like Anna Paula, who had founded an NGO focused on environmental sustainability and had already trained more than 1,000 people in recycling techniques. Like the multipliers. network app itself, which had become a connection tool between people willing to help and people needing opportunities. "Mum," said Claire one morning, entering Marina's office with an animated expression, "you need to see this." She showed the tablet, where an impressive graph occupied the entire screen. "What is this?" "It's the updated numbers from the multipliers network. In 2 years, direct and indirect beneficiaries have already surpassed 500,000 people." Marina stopped signing documents and looked at her daughter. 500,000 people. 500,000. And the most incredible thing, the average family income of participants increased 280%. The high school completion rate in served communities rose to 94%, and 78% of benefited youth are attending or have already completed higher education. Marina felt her eyes fill with tears. "Claire, it means you created the largest social revolution in American history, and possibly in Latin America." At that moment, Raphael entered the office carrying John and Peter, now 2.5 years old, one in each arm. "Why are the women of my life crying?" he asked, worried. "Dad," said Claire, still emotional, "the Multipliers Network has already transformed 500,000 lives." Raphael almost dropped the boys. 500,000? 500,000, confirmed Marina, getting up to hug the family. John, always more talkative than Peter, looked at his mother with his big blue eyes. "Mommy," crying. "Mommy is happy, my love, very happy." "Why?" Marina knelt to the boy's height. "Because Mommy and Daddy helped many people fulfill their dreams." "Like Cinderella?" asked Peter, who had developed an obsession with fairy tales. "Better than Cinderella," said Raphael, "because in our story, it's not just one person who transforms. It's many people helping many other people transform too. And you two," added Marina, kissing the boys' foreheads, "when you grow up, will help even more people." "I promise, Mommy," said John seriously. "Me too," said Peter. Claire laughed. "You don't even know what you're promising." "We do," said John, with typical Anderson determination. "We're going to help everyone be happy." That afternoon, the family decided to do something they hadn't done in a long time: simply relax. They went to Key Biscayne Beach, where everything had begun 25 years before. Marina and Raphael walked on the sand, while Claire played with the twins at the water's edge. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in golden and pink tones. "Raphael, can I confess something?" "Always. Sometimes I wake up at dawn and watch you and the children sleeping, and I can't believe this is my life. In a good way? In the best possible way. You know, when I was a housekeeper, sometimes I came here alone, especially when I was very sad or discouraged. I would sit on that rock there," she pointed to a rock formation, "and imagine what it would be like to have a family, a career, to make a difference in people's lives. And my imagination was too small. Reality surpassed all my dreams." Raphael stopped and pulled her into a hug. "Marina, you surpassed everyone's dreams, including mine." "How so?" "When I married Claire, I thought I had found happiness, and I had, but it was a different happiness, based on tranquility, predictability. With you, I discovered a happiness based on growth, transformation, the adventure of building something bigger than ourselves." "Do you miss her, Claire?" It was a question Marina asked occasionally, always fearful of the answer. "I feel nostalgia, yes, but I don't feel lacking. Nostalgia is a sweet emotion that honors what was lived. Lacking is a bitter emotion that mourns what is no longer had. Claire is part of my story, and therefore part of our story too. But my present and my future are with you. And I love that about you," said Marina. "The fact that you can love what we have without devaluing what you had. I learned that from you. You always honored your mother and your past, even while building something completely new." They stood in silence for a moment, watching Claire teach the boys to build sandcastles. "Marina." "Yes? What's the next dream?" "The next dream?" She smiled. "The next dream is to see our children grow up and choose their own paths. It's to see the Multipliers Network spreading worldwide. It's to grow old by your side, knowing we left the world a little better than we found it. And professionally, I want to create a university focused on social leadership, where young people from all social classes can study together and learn to transform their communities. Raphael smiled. Marina Santos Anderson, University Rector. I like the sound of that. Raphael Anderson, would you be up for one more adventure with me? Marina, I'd be up for any adventure with you, until the end of life. When they returned home, that night, they found a surprise waiting for them. Camilla was in the living room with an official envelope. It arrived today from Washington, she said, handing the envelope to Marina. What is it? Open and see. Marina opened carefully and read the document. Her legs wobbled and Raphael supported her. What was it? It's an official communication from the president. About what? They want to nominate me Special Ambassador of America for Social Inclusion at the UN. Silence took over the room. Marina, said Claire finally, does this mean you would represent America at the United Nations? It means I would help create global social inclusion policies. I would work with leaders from all countries to implement programs similar to ours on a world scale. Raphael held her hands. And do you want to accept? I do, but only if you and the children can come with me to New York. Mum, said Claire, I just got promoted to Digital Communication Director of the company. I can't abandon everything now. You don't need to abandon anything. You can work remotely and travel between New York and Miami. It would be perfect for your international career.
My story.
And the boys? Asked Raphael. They're too young for such big changes. They adapt. Children are more resilient than we imagine, and it would be an incredible experience for them, growing up in an international metropolis. Claire clapped. Guys, do you realize what this means? Mom is going to be an ambassador at the... we're going to be at the center of world decisions. Calm down, Claire. I still need to officially accept and go through all Senate approvals. Mom, the Senate approved you unanimously for the Marina Santos law. They'll approve you for anything. That night, after the children slept, Marina and Raphael stayed on the balcony talking about the future. Are you afraid? Asked Raphael. Very much. It's an immense responsibility, representing not just America, but all the invisible people of the world. But you're going to accept. I am, because I feel this is what everything prepared me for. Every difficulty I faced, every victory we conquered, every person we helped, everything brought me to this moment. And I'll be by your side, as always. Are you sure? Your company, your life, everything is here in America. Marina, my company is strong enough to function with remote supervision, and my life is wherever you are. 25 years ago, I fell in love with a determined housekeeper. Today, I'm going to move to New York to support a UN ambassador, but deep down it's the same woman, the same strength, the same kindness, the same ability to dream big and make those dreams come true. Marina approached him on the balcony, resting her head on his shoulder. Raphael. Yes? Thank you. For what? For seeing me when I was invisible. For believing in me when I didn't believe. For loving me in all versions of myself. The insecure housekeeper, the determined executive, the caring mother, the international speaker, for growing with me instead of trying to keep me small. Marina Santos Anderson, I'm the one who thanks you, for teaching me that true love doesn't diminish when shared, but multiplies. For showing me that success without purpose is empty, but purpose with love is transformative. For giving me the most beautiful family in the world and the most ambitious dreams I've ever had. They kissed under Miami's starry sky, knowing that once again, their lives were about to change completely, but this time, as always, they would face the change together. 6 months later, the Anderson family was installed in an elegant apartment on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Marina had been confirmed as America's Special Ambassador for Social Inclusion and worked at the United Nations building, developing global policies based on the successes of the American model. Claire had gotten a job at UN headquarters as Digital Communication Coordinator for social development programs, balancing this with her responsibilities at the family company. Raphael had opened an Anderson International office in New York and was exploring partnerships with American hotel chains interested in implementing social responsibility programs. Twins, John and Peter, now 3 years old, attended a bilingual school in Manhattan and spoke English at home, Spanish at school, and some Portuguese words they had learned from their Venezuelan nanny. "Mum," said Claire one morning during breakfast, "did you see that an article about you came out in the New York Times?" "Again?" sighed Marina. "Sometimes I feel like I became more character than person. But it's a beautiful article. The title is From Cleaning Lady to UN Ambassador, the American Woman Changing Global Social Policy. From Housekeeper to UN Ambassador, the American Woman Who's Changing Global Social Policies," Raphael translated for the boys, who were paying attention to the conversation. "Mummy was a housekeeper?" asked John, surprised. "I was, my love, and I was a very good housekeeper. Why did you stop?" "Because Daddy gave me an opportunity to do a different job." "And now you work helping the whole world?" asked Peter. "Now Mommy works helping leaders from all countries create opportunities for people who need them, just like Daddy created an opportunity for her." John thought for a moment. "So when I grow up, I'm also going to create opportunities for people." "If you want to," said Marina, kissing her son's forehead. "I do, but I want to create bigger opportunities than yours." Raphael laughed. "John, your mother's opportunities have already changed millions of people's lives. Then I'm going to change billions," said John, with all the seriousness of a 3-year-old. "And I'm going to help," added Peter. Claire was typing furiously on her phone. "Mom, this needs to become a social media post. The children of the American ambassador promising to change billions of people's lives. It's too cute." "Claire, no, I don't want the children growing up thinking they live in a reality show." Okay, but at least let me write it down for their memory book." That afternoon, at the UN office, Marina participated in a meeting with ambassadors from 15 countries to discuss global implementation of the Transformative Opportunities Program, based on the American model. "Ambassador Santos," said the German representative, "our country implemented a pilot version of the program in 3 cities. The preliminary results are extraordinary." "What kind of results?" asked Marina. 45% increase in hiring employees of immigrant and refugee origin, 30% reduction in youth unemployment rate in served areas, and most impressively, 60% increase in entrepreneurship rate in low-income communities. The Canadian ambassador raised her hand. "We had similar results, but most importantly was the cultural change. Participating companies reported significant improvement in organizational climate and general productivity." "That's exactly it," said Marina, taking notes. "When you create opportunities for people who need them, you're not just helping those people. You're creating a more human, more diverse, more innovative work environment for everyone." The Japanese ambassador, known for his traditionally conservative stance, surprised everyone. "Ambassador Santos, I must admit that initially my country was skeptical about the program. Our business culture has always prioritized well-defined hierarchies, but the results of the pilot implementation in Tokyo were revolutionary." "How so?" "A technology company hired 10 young people from underprivileged communities through the program. In 6 months, these young people developed 3 innovations that generated additional revenue of $2 million. The company now wants to expand the program to all its branches." Marina smiled, remembering Ana Paula, Marcus and Fernanda in Davos. "Mr. Ambassador, that's no surprise to me. When you give opportunities to people who have always been underestimated, they work with dedication and creativity that surprises those who never had to fight for a chance." The meeting lasted 3 hours and ended with all countries committing to expand pilot programs to national scale. When Marina got home that night, she found a small party
Hi,
happening in the living
how
room.
are you?
Raphael had
And
prepared a
today
special
I want
dinner.
to tell you my
Claire
story.
had decorated the
As a
apartment with
cleaner,
balloons, and the twins ran to hug her. "What are we celebrating?" she asked, suspecting they knew about the meeting results. "We're celebrating," said Raphael, raising a champagne glass, "that our favorite ambassador just got 15 countries to commit to implementing national social inclusion programs. Have you found someone who truly sees you? Did this story touch your heart? Tell us in the comments which city you're watching from. If you believe in the transformative power of true love, leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories that speak straight to the heart. How about suggesting what story you'd like to hear next? We're always looking for new inspirations to move you.